what do they do? What are these people? Who are these people? And I literally Googled that. I have huge problems. I have no idea how to fix them.
Yeah.
Where do I start? What do I do? And it gave me these books to read. The cool part is that you don't need a college degree to build a startup.
Not at all.
You don't need a clean criminal record to build a startup.
Are you a convict?
No, but I was mopping the gym because I'm the janitor, and I heard I just Googled, what the hell does a venture capitalist use to invest in a company?
Welcome to the Build Podcast, the show where we talk to the people building Detroit from the ground up. From startups and small businesses to community movements and big ideas, Detroit has always been a city that runs on the strength of its people. I'm your host, Ayesha Qureshi, a fellow builder. Let's get into it.
Okay, cool. So on today's Foundies episode, we are talking with Jason David. He is the founder of Gymforce, and full disclosure, I am also on the advisory board of his company, but he's a super cool guy, and I'm really excited for him to share his story, how he started his company, and where it's going, and of course, the awesome role Detroit has played in it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. It's
of course.
Pretty cool. Yeah, so just a little tiny backstory on me. I am the founder and CEO of Gymforce. We are an AI-first member acquisition, retention, and corporate wellness platform for independently owned gyms and martial arts schools. I'm basically a failed gym owner turned startup founder. And I know how that sounds, but it
sounds very Detroit, actually, because we are a city of comebacks.
Yeah. Yeah. So if, our mission is for me to save the 50,000 other, starting with the United States, the 50,000 other gyms to not realize the same fate as mine. So, being from Detroit, I love the city, as a longtime member of the, startup entrepreneurship community. I'm grateful that I did start this here because the people I met, the friends I made, including yourself. And I just, I want to do everything I can to help the ecosystem also while, building my company right here. So,
yeah. And actually we should go into how we met, because I think that's like a very Detroit thing, because I've seen this with other people I've talked to, is we always meet in some unique roundabout way. I've met people walking down the street in Detroit, and then suddenly we're doing business together a year later.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how we met.
Yeah. So when I started out, and I think it's very common for people to do this in Detroit. Okay, I have a startup idea. I need to find people, get money, right? You kind of have that. And it's not wrong to have an approach like that, just because, we really don't know how the ecosystem works. But when you start looking for ways to help other people, even though you yourself need help, it starts to create, synergies and some other positive effects. And you're a really good example of that. And for people that are listening to this is something that you should kind of look to do, especially if you're early. We were at a Tech Town event. It was, I think, the healthcare.
It was the Med Health Summit.
The Med Health Summit at Tech Town. I was walking around, talking to as many people as I can. I saw your booth, and you had some Squishmallows, or something some kind of stuffed
unicorn
animal,
Squishamallows
or whatever, and no signage. And I'm like, it sparked my curiosity, so I talked to you. And after only about 10 minutes, you're like, oh, well, let's connect on and talk. I can help, maybe with marketing or whatever it is you need. So it was just kind of like a casual conversation where you have that with a lot of people. But, the next time we spoke, you were actively trying to help me. You were, giving me some feedback, some pushback on certain things I was doing. And
I'm good at pushback.
Yeah, but it was the strange thing was I got a impression from you that gave me energy, and I couldn't put my finger. I just thought you were cool. But then I started to notice that in other people, and the energy that I was getting from you was you actively trying to help me. And it was not something that I picked up on immediately. So thanks for that.
Of
And
course.
you kind of were one of the people that inspired me to start doing that more.
Oh, I love
So
that.
if I go somewhere, like if you go to like these different startup events, whether it's the purpose jobs, happy hours, if you go to the, the pitch events, like at New Enterprise Forum or anything at New Lab, I started doing that, kind of taking a lead, just because it's an easy way to approach conversations. It's an easy way to learn about people. It's also like a thought experiment.
For sure. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about that when you and I did a podcast episode on IT and the D.
Mhm.
And we talked a lot about how the ecosystem here is one where if you come in willing to help, then people are more open to that because Detroit sniffs bullshit. And
Yeah.
like, that's just the truth. So I love that. I'm glad that you
Yeah,
started that route.
Detroit is I think it's a very untapped resource for startups, startup founders. I think the community at large has at its foundation a level of people that have so much grit, so much resilience, and see the world from such a different perspective that it needs help to access those kinds of people. Because I don't think enough of them know how this whole game works. But once our ecosystem is able to cultivate that, I think Detroit's kind of, a rocket ship of startups.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
my kind of course of action with everything I'm doing now is like, okay, how can I help this person?
Right.
How can I
Yeah.
help that person?
Yep.
Even if I'm calling somebody because I need their help, I'll try to find some way that I can help them also,
Yeah.
as small as it might be,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think that is something really that would benefit any community, but in Detroit we're so used to people like misunderstanding the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're forced to lean on each other as business owners in the city and entrepreneurs in the city. And so I love that idea of, just offering to help.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody has something that they can also do in return to help, but it's kind of like almost like pay it forward. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I love that. So when you first got started, so your gym failed,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Essentially,
Kind of, it was struggling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And
It failed. You could say that. Like,
there's no failures. There's lessons.
Yeah.
So you learned some lessons from that. You decided, if I remember correctly, during COVID to start Gymforce.
mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that and kind of how in Detroit, how Detroit has influenced your ability to get up from basically a failure, bounce back, and try to build something even better.
Yeah. Just on the failure thing. So I started saying that. I said it one time in Silicon Valley. I went out there for a month. And when I said I'm a failed gym owner turned startup founder, the person smiled.
It's kind of funny. It made me smile. That's the first time I heard it, actually. And you know, I've talked
When
a lot.
I say that here, people go, "Oh no, you didn't fail. It's okay. You just learn. You're just gonna like kind of like being nice about." I think the story resonates when you say it like that,
Yeah.
and the story is much more not important in Silicon Valley, but it's more of a part of the process, part of the system out there. But to answer your question, when the pandemic happened, my business shut down. I had kind of nowhere to turn. I was in the process of trying to revamp my whole business at the time. So I spent a lot of money on a agency to help me with the lead generation and all this stuff. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd spent a bunch of money. And I wrote the check March 5th of 2020 for, I think it was $3,000 I had to put down. And then 2 weeks later, my gym was closed for almost a year.
Yeah.
So with nothing to do, I decided that I have these huge problems ahead of me, but they can't be the worst problems anybody's ever faced ever. So who are the people? What are the books? What are the resources that the people that have solved these big problems, what do they do? What are these people? Who are these people? And I literally Googled that. I have huge problems. I have no idea how to fix them.
Yeah.
Where do I start? What do I do? And it gave me these books to read. And the first book was The Obstacle Away is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I read it. I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with my business, right? And then the next book was The Hard Things About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. I'm like, okay, this is Silicon Valley. I own a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
What does this have to do? But it was a great book, and I had an interest in it. And then I read 0 to 1, which I listened to it walking around. I remember when I finished the first one, I'm standing on Jefferson. What the hell did I just read? And what does that mean? But I liked how the premise of the book was, what is something you strongly believe to be true and nobody agrees with you on? And that led me to every other branch of where I was going. So I would read every book they told me to read. It led me to Naval. It led me to Jason Calacanis. It read all these other podcasts. And I did everything kind of backwards because I wasn't trying to start a startup. About a year and a half after that, it was actually October of 2022. I was mopping the gym because I'm the janitor, and I heard I just Googled, what the hell does a venture capitalist use to invest in a company? Like, I don't get it. It said, well, you need to do this, do this, do this, or just have an MVP. I'm like, MVP? So I'm like, what the hell is an MVP? And when it said minimum viable product and it described what it was, I'm like, oh my God, like that is in my head and has been for years.
Yeah.
And that was my startup. So because it was the nature of how I went about it, it was all accidental, which was also why I started my CrossFit gym. I just tried CrossFit. I liked it. I thought I was good at it. I mean, I didn't know whether or not I was. I felt good. And I just like, okay, we want to have a bigger place. Like, I'll pitch in some money. And then I got laid off from my job and never went back. Opened my CrossFit gym, loved it, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my path to starting a startup is probably not advisable as a actual tactic. I kind of just followed my interests on trying to fix my business. And I didn't realize that there was an actual way to do it, to create value at a global scale where I could do everything my way. And if I did it right, I save the gyms and I get $1 billion, right? Something like that. So not advisable, but my journey nonetheless.
But it's not unusual because most of the startup owners I know, they identified a problem, experienced a problem, and then they find a way to fix it. Yeah. So it's not uncommon. There's no like linear path to startups. It's always up and down, and people start it in the most random way. Like Airbnb, they started with like air mattresses, basically.
Yeah, you had to have an airbed, and they had to be there.
Yeah. So, so then when it comes to like, you're reading these books, you're trying to figure out what are my next steps. Where'd you go from there?
Yeah. So my first idea was, oh, I have a great idea. I think it'll work. I know it's hard. I have a gym in an area with some wealthy people. I could raise $1 million to start this whole thing out. And so that was my goal to start. Like, I can use it. I can take this $1 million. I'll be able to save my gym. I'll be able to build my startup. I had no idea what I was getting into. And also, it's not really that legitimate of a goal to think that you're going to raise $1 million from people that don't know what the hell you're doing.
Right.
So that failed.
Yeah.
But I did get a couple checks, a couple of my friends that believed in me, clients of mine. And I think that this little tiny win propelled me to the next thing. That was kind of the first piece was like, oh, I got to try to get to this MVP. I need the MVP. How do I get there? Got to pay somebody to build it. How do I do? I need money. I don't have money. So when you fail at that piece, the logical thing is, okay, that didn't work. Time to move on.
Yeah.
My thought was, okay, the obstacle is the way. Every roadblock led me to another thing, as hard as it was, that ended up being a positive in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is, if I would have raised that $1 million that I set out to raise, which I thought I absolutely needed, I would be failed completely right now. It would not have worked, knowing what I know now. So it's just kind of strange. And in Detroit, part of why I'm excited about the future of the city and all that stuff is now I know kind of how that whole thing works. And I think the skills that I applied to, get through those difficult early stages is at the foundation of the city.
Yeah.
And there is, and this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize, if you go through an accelerator, right, or whatever, you can help build it out. You can get started. You get the resources, whatever, and it's very complicated with how systems work unless you use systems to your advantage, which I highly recommend people, if they're looking to start a startup, don't focus on getting your idea viral. Think in systems and incentives. If you're thinking in systems and incentives, it makes it easier to reconcile everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool part is that you don't need a college degree to build a startup.
Not at all.
You don't need a clean criminal record to build a startup.
Are you a convict?
No, but the diversity and the resilience in our community.
Yeah.
I don't think that the guy that owns an auto repair shop at Mount Elliott and whatever is thinking this is maybe an option for them. Like I never thought of myself as doing something that they do out in Silicon Valley. Like, what is all this stuff? Like, that's not me, right?
Yeah.
But the underlying skill of what startup entrepreneurship is the foundational kind of ethos of Detroit. It's resilience, it's grit, it's curiosity, it's dealing with, all that stuff is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't need a degree to start a $10 billion company.
No, not at all. I mean, you hit on it. It is curiosity, and it is. So the Marshall Simons, who's the owner of Motor City Pedicab, shout out to them. They're like super, super cool company, great guy. But he and I had a really long conversation, and we were talking about how like Detroit is the birthplace of the American dream. And it's where so many people have achieved the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is still the birthplace of the American dream. Like, it's still where you can achieve the American dream.
Yeah.
In any way you want to.
Not giving up on something, bouncing back after difficulty, like those are the kinds of things that you need when you're doing something like this, right?
Yeah.
And the people that are out there have that in them. And so I guess kind of to my point about the helping people, like I want to be successful because I want to be able to achieve our mission.
Yeah.
I don't care about the money so much as I care about what I would be able to do with it after. And to be able to help people would excite me. And especially those people that aren't yet like familiar with how this whole thing works. And I did a little entrepreneurship. I have a friend, he's a teacher at a Detroit school. And he's like, hey, do you want to come out and do it? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I did it like terrible. I was nervous, like a bunch of high school kids.
They can be mean. But
there's one girl that keeps updating me with what she's doing.
Oh, I love that. And what's her business?
So her name's Charisma. I don't know her last name, but she was going to start by doing, I think, a podcast on something that she was interested in. I don't remember the details. Okay. So I remember just kind of giving her a step-by-step playbook to get started. And then, are you familiar with Black Tech Saturdays?
Oh, I love Black Tech Saturdays, yeah.
So I was at a Black Tech Saturdays event, and she was at the event with her mom.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm like, oh, wow, she's doing the thing.
Yeah. She's driven. She's got that grit and that.
Yeah. And speaking of Black Tech Saturdays, like that's a perfect example of the long tail effect of doing something to help people. Like I've met Johnny and Alexa in passing at their events. I don't know them that well.
Yeah.
But from everything that I gather, they started to do this thing as just kind of a community help people sort of narrative. And they're getting kind of famous.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. And I think it's so cool that they're getting famous off of helping people.
Yeah.
And I've gone to, anytime I go to a Black Tech Saturdays event, like I meet somebody super cool. They want to connect me with someone, or like I have a connection for them. So it's a
Yeah.
good example of exactly what you're talking about, which is that building community. And I will say that with Detroit having largely underserved community, and we do have obviously we're a majority Black community
Mhm.
that, to be honest, is not given a seat at the table. They created the table basically.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. And that kind of overall knowledge of, so when you're in Silicon Valley, it's the underlying theme of everything that's happening out there. All you have to do is say the keyword. You say the keyword when you're sitting at a bar getting a margarita, and immediately the person within earshot wants to talk to you about your startup.
So what's the keyword?
So for me, I just found a way to mention I was from Detroit.
Okay.
Once that came out of my, and another shout out to Detroit. When I mentioned I'm from Detroit, the person sitting next to me would go, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, I'm just a delusional founder trying to build my dreams. What are you building?
Yeah.
And then they start asking all the questions.
Yeah.
And that kind of needs to be more normalized here, because we have the brick and mortar, the manufacturing, the automotive mentality kind of thing, which is nothing wrong with it. Like, I'm not trying to downplay any other industry, but generational wealth for somebody from the inner city of Detroit, the barrier for entry is simply undertaking something. Maybe it's money, but there's a way to do it. If you don't have the access, you need leverage, right?
Yeah.
So if we're talking about how you build a startup now compared to 2 years ago, leverage is capital, labor, and one other thing that most people don't know about that's free, and that's technology. The leverage that's available to every person that has a dream is there. And, oh, by the way, the skill you need to have to make that come to life is your ability to not give up, figure shit out, and build it.
Yeah.
And so that is how it works in California. It's not yet permeating here, and I want to help to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll push back a little bit on that, because I think we do have the gumption, we do have the grit, we do have the drive.
Yeah.
I think there
No,
are...
I said they do.
Yeah.
They do,
there are accessibility issues. I mean, 30% of Detroiters do not have access to internet at home. And so...
wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
So I do feel like, former Mayor Duggan, Mary Sheffield, like they're doing their part to try to bring those resources to people in the city so that they're able to explore technology, so that they can sit at home on their couch like we are able to do, and, do research.
Yeah.
I spent hours last night on my couch reading about a famous Detroit architect, but not everybody can do that. It's
Right.
not always comfortable to go sit at a coffee shop. I do believe that, that gap is going to be closing, and there are amazing people in the city working on closing that gap.
I 100% agree with you. And the resources that are out there and the people that are involved in doing it are great. So like the Founders First Fridays, the Michigan Founder Fund is amazing. I usually go to the one in Royal Oak that's hosted by Christina Fair. Then there's one in Techtown, and all the different smart zones have it. The resources of the Michigan Small Business Development Council.
Yeah.
There is resources. It is, again, we need to bring it to more of the people.
We got to bring awareness to it.
And I like to give people steps, like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know if it was somebody was trying to figure out how to do their financial model or something like that. I'm like, the Small Business Development Council is a resource at your disposal, and it's free. And most people don't know that, and they can help you with your ideation, with your pitch, with all that stuff. So it just needs to be more of a normalized part of our culture. And the people that are involved in it right now are doing great, but we need more of it.
For sure.
And it just takes people being successful in what they're doing to be able to give back.
100%. So what are your top 3 resources for new entrepreneurs in the city?
When I talk to people, I tell them, you got to build it. Um, a lot of people think they need money to start. A lot of people think they need a safety net, security
Mhm.
blanket. So you got to get started. Um, if you find any person that has an interest in the thing that you're selling, there's something there. So you don't need permission either. So I do tell them if they have a thing, like if they have an app on their phone, like, yeah, we're doing this. I go, well, here's a resource. You can apply for the new enterprise forum, their coaching program. They have the mentorship thing. You can go to the different startup events to try to meet people that you can share your vision with. And a lot of times this kind of goes over their head, but like just talking about it
Yeah.
is a thing that you can learn from to evolve your vision. And a lot of times that comes in the form of negative feedback. And, in California, that's how it works, right?
Right.
But here, I think people just need to get used to it. So I even give people my numbers. Like, if you need help with something, call me. I can introduce you to these people.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, like your podcast that you're starting here, I'm sure you probably know, this is probably a long-term thing that you need to think about. And that's what these startups are.
Yeah.
A long-term time horizon that you don't get any of the stuff in the beginning. You get
No.
all of the stuff after you do all the things.
Right.
And the fun part is navigating that, as hard as it is,
Mm-hmm.
through financial difficulties, limited resources, access, stuff like that. But the
Yeah.
resources are there. And this podcast hopefully will be able to appeal to a broader community that can learn.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I would agree with you. The Michigan Founders Fund is a good resource. Another one that I would give a shout out to is TechTown.
Yep.
Because TechTown is great for brick and mortar and for like tech startups.
Yeah.
They have a retail boot camp, and then there's their professional service network, which my company is a part of, where we advise people for free on
Q-Line Media, right?
Q-Line Media.
Yeah, give yourself a
yes.
shout out, plug it.
But yeah, so where we advise people for free on marketing challenges or questions they might have, but they have legal services and all sorts of things, tax help, like everything. So definitely shout out to Techtown Detroit.
Yeah. My daughter one time asked me, everybody laughs at you when you talk about your startup. Like, okay, whatever, you're going to be a billionaire, right? She's like, do you want to be a billionaire, Dad? I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. She's like, why? I go, so I can tell people I'm not a billionaire. And I think that's kind of changed. Like now I think it would be nice to be able to help those people with that capital, So Detroit is ready, is ripe, it needs help, and I want to find a way to help it.
Yeah, so when you get your first $1 billion, you can start writing checks to other Detroit businesses and invest it. Yeah, start your own VC firm.
The capital that's sometimes essential for a startup is very difficult to attain, right? Everybody knows less than 0.1% of startups raise money. You're competing against everybody for that money. If you're a first-time founder from the Midwest, it's 10 times harder than that 0.1%. Yep. It's nearly impossible. But the access to that capital is tied to incentives in a system. We just need to add more incentives for the system, add more capital with different incentives to be able to write more checks to appeal to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So it'll take a while, but I'm up for the challenge.
All right. So as we wrap, I would love for you to finish the sentence for me.
Okay.
Detroit is
an untapped future startup game changer. So I think if done properly, I think we can surpass Austin. I think we can compete with, New York. I just think that the intellectual capital here, the grit, the work ethic, the diversity in thought is in Detroit is different, and it's a force multiplier, and it just needs to be kind of cultivated the right way. But I want to do everything I can to
Yeah.
help Detroit do that. So that's what Detroit is to me.
I love it. Cool. Any last words?
I guess I'm really excited that you're doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the help that you've provided with Gymforce.
Of course.
And I'd love to come back and, a couple of years when you got 400 episodes under your belt and you're famous. So good luck.
All right. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of The Build. If you enjoyed the conversation, follow the show, like, and share it with someone who's building something of their own. And if there's somebody you think we need to talk to, send us a message and we'd love to connect.